This is the Leon Charney Report. And now, here is your host, Leon Charney.
Welcome to another Leon Charney Report, and we have with us the Honorable Charles Rangel, the ranking member of the House Ways and Means Committee, and he's hoping that maybe that will change and he'll be the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, and I'm sure that he's traveling the earth, and not the earth, at least the United States, trying to make sure the congressmen vote the Democratic way. And if you remember on this show, I think it was one of the first shows he talked about it, Hillary Clinton for Senate, and it came out of Charlie's mouth. I think he was the instigator, if that's a good word for it or not, or the progenitor of Hillary Clinton for the Senate. Charlie, welcome to the show. You're looking good.
Good to be back. You've had some great shows here. I've been following them on Sundays.
Well, we try hard, you know, Charlie. Jewish kids, they try hard. Charlie, Hillary Clinton, my God, you started a stampede. She's really running, and I guess you believe very strongly that she's going to win this thing.
I really do. It's hard for me to believe, though, that she was not seriously thinking about this before I raised that. I was in Chicago, and some of the people were saying that she was seriously considering public office in Illinois, and I was with her all of that day campaigning. And I told her, I said, you know, you can be a senator from Vermont, you can be a senator from Rhode Island, you could be a senator from Illinois, but hey, a real senator is from New York. You know? And so she laughingly said, well, who would want me there, and the type of things that wannabe candidates do. And I couldn't get support from the congressional delegation, or who would be the competitors. And I knew instantly from the questions that she was asking me that she was alive. And then shortly after that, Moynihan decided that it was before then that he had decided, but I had to go visit the president. And that's all he was talking about. I had an agenda. I had to say, Mr. President, how much time do I have? Because he was asking what was the chance.
Yeah, but you remember your quote? You asked,
yeah,
the president asked you, you was the problem. I've quoted you on that.
That's right. And it turns out that may be
the problem, right? So when Torricelli, the senator from New Jersey, came out with it on Meet the Press or something, was that spontaneous, Charlie, or that was programmed?
I don't really know. He's the chairman of the Senate campaign committee. I don't think he would have done that without her knowledge.
Yeah, that's too heavy.
Yeah, it would have been embarrassing if she was not a candidate for him to have said that. It would have been awkward for him and certainly for her.
Charlie is absolutely right. Now, I've been in situations where I represented the Prime Minister of Israel, the President of Israel. You are very sensitive about anything you say concerning these people because you know immediately it's a headline. And if you have any consciousness about your responsibility, you don't leak their names and use them in a vapid or insincere way. So I think, Charlie, you're right. And I think that she's thought about this for a long time. But you have a vote if you come from Rhode Island, Charlie, or you come from Illinois, except maybe you don't want to live there.
Well, I'm not getting that far, but I really believe that I'm a different kind of a member because I come from New York City.
Is that right?
I mean, I kind of think that New York is just an exciting city, an exciting state. And I think that we have produced such exciting people, not only for the Senate, but for those who've gone off to higher office. And many of them have not been born in New York, you know, and we've taken out-of-state people and made them New Yorkers. And I think she'll be a great salesperson for all of the things that New Yorkers believe in. And let's face it, if you want to pick a place that represents the world and people from all over, just like Frank Sinatra said, if you make it here, you make it anywhere.
That's why we're on television in New York.
That's right.
Rhode Island.
Not Vermont.
You're not bothered by the carpetbagger issue at all, are you?
Not at all. As a matter of fact, the guy that's the chairman of the Senate Republican Committee, he's a senator from Kentucky, and he was born in Alabama. And they got several other. Graham from Texas, he was born in Georgia.
Really?
Yeah, so, you know.
He sounds it, by the way.
You would say, though, what difference does it make? You know, but it's no big deal. And I would think that as it relates to upstaters, that Juliana is just as much a carpetbagger as she would be because of the cultural difference between upstate and the city. Yeah, I mean, Ed Koch told you about that the last time he was on your
show.
Program.
By the way, you have one of the best quotes of the year. Tom DeLay. You said Tom DeLay was in the pest control business. And maybe
exterminator. And years ago, they didn't have these masks. You can't run around spraying this stuff and breathing it, and it had no impact on you, you know. But I've also said in his defense that when he takes his medication, he's pretty easy to get with. Do you know he went to the well of the House and said he was going to bring the President of the United States down to his knees, that he was going to force him either to veto appropriations bill or to use the Social Security money because we will be in charge and dictate the terms of whether or not he closes this government.
Terrible.
I mean, he is such a mean-spirited man, and thank God he belongs to them.
What committee is he on, Charlie?
I don't know whether he actually serves on a committee. Sometimes the leadership relinquishes their seat, but he's never on the floor talking about legislation.
Really?
I mean, not a bill that he is. I mean, he is just talking politics. It's we against them. And he leads a band of Republicans that truly hate the president and Mrs. Clinton. I mean, they are blinded by it so that it wouldn't be any issue that the president would be supporting, that they would see the lights of day, whether it's the education school construction bill, the campaign financing that we're concerned about, the Patients' Bill of Rights. And they can't find anything wrong with Medicare and Social Security. It's not Clinton's legislation. But because he said, let's take care of that first before you use the surplus and other things, they're not going to do it. They're just not going to do it.
So, well, first of all, let's talk about an area you really know well, is the tax business. The Republicans want a tax refund, and the Democrats want to basically spend the money on social.
No. We want a tax cut, too. But they're talking about $792 billion, right. And we're talking closer to 250, which what the president is talking about. But they never intended to have a tax cut bill. They intended to have a Republican piece of literature. In one day, they put together this bill. I'm the ranking Democrat on the committee. I was not invited to participate. Senator Moynihan is the ranking Democrat on the Senate Finance Committee. He was not invited. The only people that were in the room were lobbyists, staff, and Republicans. And what they did, after they passed the House bill and the Senate bill, they picked the best things that they could campaign on, giving something to everybody. One of the things is so silly that Senator Roth insisted on is giving a tax break to a Canadian firm that's located in the South that's prepared to convert chicken manure into electricity. And it wasn't as though he put it in the middle of the night. He fought for it, you know. And so they then, in one day, passed the bill, and we're about to go on recess. The last day that we're in session, instead of sending it to the president, they delayed sending it so that the 3 weeks that we're in recess, they can run around the country with fundraisers. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're using it as a fundraiser. And they knew it was going to be vetoed. It was a bill drafted to be vetoed.
So it was bad faith, basically.
No, they don't have a legislative agenda. They're trying desperately hard to find themselves. So they're dealing with the moderates, one of whom left the Republican Party and joined up with us, Michael Forbes from the 1st Congressional District in Eastern Long Island. And they have others that are leaving the party on certain important legislation and joining in with us. So if you were to ask what have they done with their 5-seat margin, it's been absolutely nothing. They had hoped that this tax cut bill would so grab the American people that they would be able to say, this is what Republicans really stand for. But even then, they lost 6 members of the Republican Party.
It's not penetrating at all, is it?
No, it's not picking up. There's certain dignity that people have about Social Security. And even the young people that may be reluctant to think that they're going to be eligible for the benefits recognize that our older people, not only has it taken most all of them out of poverty, which some of us haven't forgotten, but it's given a sense of dignity for people to be able to have, not to depend on their children, and to have their check. And the same is true of Medicare.
Is the system in trouble for Social Security?
You know, the system with a strong country, a strong republic, a strong economy, no system can really be in trouble that we can't fix. We have an obligation to the people, and we got to take care of that obligation. The question that the president has raised, and we Democrats are raising, is that when the sun is shining, the economy is good, and the money is there, do you fix the roof and do you take care of your debt then? Or do you pass it on to the next generation where you're going to have millions of more of baby boomers that become eligible? And as you know, it's not as though we put the Social Security tax into something and then it's there for you. What we do is pay as you go. So you'd have this bumper crop of eligibility, and at that time it would raise havoc with the system. But we have to do the right thing because the genius of a President Clinton is his ability to communicate. Oh. He now has people to understand a very complicated system.
He's unbelievable, Charlie.
He is good.
I was down, I told you, with President Clinton and Carter when he got the Presidential Medal of Honor. There's nobody in the world who speaks like Bill Clinton. I've never seen anything like it.
A cab driver told me that any guy that can convince his wife that he's having adulterous relationships because of his childhood, he has to be good.
We cut on a break and we'll come right back, continue with Charlie Rangel. He's a congressman, but he's our friend. We have a lot of fun with him, so we'll be right back. We're back with the irrepressible Charles Rangel, ranking member of the House Ways and Means Committee, congressman from Harlem. How many terms? 13 terms, Charles?
No, we've gone now until the 29th year, 15 terms.
15 terms,
right.
Going on the 16th term. And you can see why. Man has great personality and delivers for his community. I was in Harlem last night. I went to a Yankee game. Rode through, I see a lot of construction going on up there, Charlie.
Oh, boy, it's so
Big
exciting. My district and the Empowerment Zone district includes Washington Heights, where everybody was born in Washington Heights or raised in Washington Heights. East Harlem, which culturally, we probably got more Puerto Ricans over there than they got in San Juan. And, of course, Harlem. And on Thursday of this week, the Attorney General put together a stipulation saying that the Board of Directors at the Apollo have acted in good faith and in the interests of the Apollo. And as a result of this, my long and dear friend Dick Parsons, who's the chairman of Time Warner, has agreed. He's also the chairman of my Empowerment Zone board, but he has agreed to help us out, to give us people of talent who understand show business, to get resources. And I am so proud that institution I used to play hooky to sneak into or just hope that one day I could get on the stage is going to become everything that she can
What
be.
is the Apollo Foundation? Not-for-profit?
It's a not-for-profit, yes.
Operate the theater?
Right.
It's something like Radio City in Harlem, in a sense?
We hope that it will be, but, it's only a 1,500-seat place, and so you can't really get big-time entertainers there and expect to be able to pay them. But we do a lot of community work, a lot of work with the churches. We let a lot of not-for-profits use it because it's their stage. And the dreams that we have, there's a vacant lot next to the Apollo.
To build?
To build there, to have a jazz museum, to have a Hall of Fame, to have a tourist center, and the city's cooperating as well as the governor. And so
it would be a great thing for Harlem.
It's going to be fantastic. And also we hope to have a tourist center there so that it'll be a one-stop place for you to know what's happening at the restaurants, know which hotels have better rates, and know the jazz spots that we have in our community. I also hope to put a hotel up there in the Hudson and have a supper club out there in the Hudson River. Yeah.
Cotton Club again.
Yeah, we got a cotton club up there.
Still
already.
going?
Yeah.
Be a real renaissance for Harlem, won't it?
It's exciting.
I can tell you something. The real estate people are taking a look at it very.
Yes, indeed.
I'm sure prices are rising.
We
in Harlem.
got Pathmark with one of their largest places there on 25th Street. We got Home Depot, a building on the east side.
Wonderful. I mean, it's important. You're raising people's hopes when you do that. You change a community. I mean, it's what it's all about.
Jobs.
Jobs, and that's right.
If I can get the president to concentrate on education, which he's good, but I just hope that his legacy will be that no kid is denied an opportunity to learn. And in the poorer communities, especially poor minority communities, where you find overcrowded classes and an atmosphere that's not conducive of learning, and the kids dropping out of school, getting pregnant, getting involved in drugs, and we find now that, there's more of an interest in building jails than there are in schools. And it is immoral to be in that situation when you're a great country like we are. But as we go into this next century, the whole thing is technology.
Right.
And you got to invest in people's minds.
Absolutely. There isn't a soul in the world who will be operating without a computer in the next 10 years. And the internet will totally take over.
And who knows how to do it better than kids?
No, but you can't learn a computer now.
Right.
It's nearly impossible for all the people.
I can get my newspaper reports, and I can also find
your stock market report.
How often my name is mentioned. I know a lot of interesting things I can do.
Computer's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Do you find that there's a community interest in Harlem, that the people are participating?
They feel
also?
better. And not only that, but working people have more pride. There's something about a job. Of course, it's the income and taking care of your debt. But in addition to that, there's something that makes you different when you are working.
Sure, it gives you self-status.
Exactly.
Right.
And when people are together feeling good about themselves, it's a good feeling for all those people who are around them. And the opposite, of course, is true, too.
I had a wealthy client who said what you said. I'm not going to use any names, but and his kids were going to inherit a lot of money. And he said to me, Leon, I want you to set my will up in such a way, I don't care about their inheritance. In fact, let it be less, but make sure that they have jobs. And unfortunately, in this instance, all the kids lost the money and they can't get jobs. And this man was right. He was a sage. And he knew that jobs are more important than anything in the world. And when I served on the DeWin Commission, which was a commission that integrated banking, insurance, and financial services with Arthur Levitt and Greenberg of AIG and Louis Lefkowitz and Eleanor Guggenheim and John Terrell and everybody. It was a blue ribbon panel. The only thing that I ever talked about was jobs. And one of the things I was against when you saw all these banking mergers is the loss of jobs. It really got me upset. There's banks, Manny, Hanny, and Che, everybody was coming together. And I, as a public member, was out to protect the people. And all you saw was a lot of job losses. So you get these promises from the banks that there would be no losses, but if you ever went back and checked in 3 years, there were a lot of job losses.
Of course, and with the merger and acquisitions, you find people avoiding duplicity and people going to high tech rather than dealing with people. But that's why you can find young people today that are trained that they know there's a job for them. when you got it and you know you've got it, you can close down the business tomorrow, but these kids would just go someplace else, someplace where they are expanding. But when you talk about inheritances, my wife and I have been together over 40 years, and she saw a bumper sticker once that she wants to live our life with, and that it said, "We're spending our children's inheritance and having a great time."
And you're probably right. Well, now that I got a bunch of kids, I better think that way, huh, Charlie?
No, not your beautiful twins. You got to really, it's different. I'm dealing with an ex-Marine and a lawyer, and so he has to find a better way.
Charlie, Bill Clinton, is he going to live in New York? Do you know?
Yeah, Westchester.
Is that firm?
Sure it is. Well, they're looking at a place in Westchester. That's where they're spending their time. And they're beautiful homes there, and we think that's it.
Are you going to be active for Mrs. Clinton's
You bet
campaign?
your life.
Very
Gore
active.
and Clinton.
Gore and Clinton?
Right.
What about Bill Bradley?
Oh, I'm going to hug him. That's what everyone wants to do. We give Bill a hug. He's a wonderful guy, but then we have to get on to elect the president.
What's fascinating, Charlie, is that Clinton's polls are still up there. His likability factors are great. No matter what happens, these pundits on CNBC are going broke. On CNN, they're all going broke because they're trying to chip away at it, and they can't get to it. The statistics are still there all the time. Everything is in his favor. But Gore is suffering. And how do you pull Gore up?
I think Bush, more than anybody, pulls Gore up. He's a very thin-skinned person who's been protected by the National Republican Committee. They let him out just in Iowa, and he's saying, "I have not used cocaine in the last 7 years, and I'm tired of you asking me this." And so I really think that nobody has ever accused Gore of being an exciting candidate for anything, even though he holds his own well in debates.
He beat Ross Perot one time with Larry King. I remember that.
Yeah, but it's safe to say that he's getting a slow start, and Bill Bradley, is doing better than anyone expected. But I'm looking at the big one, and the big one is going to be George W. And I really think that this guy...
that's a very silly statement in a way, that in the last 7 years, the Jews have a rule of law that 7 years you get a sabbatical.
And then 7 years, you're talking, I'm a lawyer and a former prosecutor. When someone says that to me, I think in a statute of limitation,
Yeah. Not only that, you can say, well, if you didn't take cocaine, did you take heroin? And if you didn't take heroin, did you take another drug? Or you were on LSD? He opens up a Pandora's box here. And they'll get to him, by the way. The press will not leave go.
Well, I saw some footage of interviews with him before he ran for office.
With needles or without?
And he was talking about his drinking and cussing habits, just like he had no ambitions at all to become anything except what, the president's son. And those things, unfortunately, are going to come back and haunt him, because now in these interviews, everything that you've done from childhood becomes an issue. And while everyone says it should not be, every one of his opponents says it should not be, and then they go on and talk about the guy, And they had a ball. I
ran a contest. I was kibitzing on television. I said, "Can anybody remember the name Bob Livingston, whoever he was?" You will know because you're in Congress. Yeah. There aren't 50 people in a country who will remember Bob Livingston, who was the Speaker of the House for 4.5 hours until they found out that he had a few women in his life that he didn't talk to his wife about.
I wondered why Gingrich left so quickly.
That's coming out too now. He divorced his wife.
He left in a hurry,
And he had a good Jewish vote going because his wife, his former wife, or I don't know if he's divorced, was working for an Israeli corporation.
Is that right?
Yeah, and Gingrich would always sell that. And then Bibi, God rest him in his new happiness, would come and visit the Republicans right away, which irritated Bill Clinton. I think the night before he came to Bill Clinton, he went to see one of these preachers, I don't remember the name, and Bill is really an enemy of Bill Clinton's, It
looks like Bill Clinton got a little even.
I think at the end of the day, he came out of... It's amazing how this guy has sustained so much, It's unbelievable. Clinton has got to be one of the great phenomena of history in America.
Someone came to me and they said, Charlie, I'm tired of beating up on the president. Besides, I'm afraid everyone that hits him, you say something against him and something bad happens. Right. And they started listening. Starr is gone, Gingrich is gone, Livingston is gone, Hutchison, who was raising so much, he left his wife.
Hutchison in Arkansas?
In the Senate, yeah.
Asa, what's the brother?
The Senator Hutchison, really? Yeah, he's gone with his secretary. And so they say that it really doesn't make sense to knock this guy because the gods are with him,
It's true.
It's unbelievable.
His friend, Wolf Blitzer, from CNN.
Of course.
He said to me he's never seen anything like that. Wherever the guy touches, it turns into gold. No matter what he touches, he's into gold. So Westchester County, if he moves in there, you probably do very well. So pray that he moves there. 4 yentas who walk down the block are worried about traffic. I wouldn't worry about it. Your county's going to do better. We got to cut for a break. We'll come back and have some more fun with Charlie Rangel. We're talking with Charlie Rangel, who's a colonel, by the way. He won't tell people.
Don't do that. Just call me one of your everyday sergeants.
One of your everyday sergeants. What do you think about Mayor Giuliani today? Look at the situation. Mayor Giuliani, if he wins the election, which you don't think he will anyway, so Mark Green becomes the mayor of New York for a couple of days, right?
I really think that the mayor loses a lot of sleep over that idea.
He does.
He really does.
We had Maestro on here the other day, Randy Maestro, who's chairman of the Charter Revision Commission.
And he says with a straight face that his mission is not to change the rules of succession.
Very straight face. Really? You believe that?
Of course not. Neither does he. That's his only mission, to change the rules of succession. I think the mayor, if the people have understood what he's going to do, he'll suffer politically as a result of it because it's blatantly unfair. Whether you like Mark Green or not, you got to play by the rules of the game that's there. And if the people have understand what he's trying to do, I think it's a negative. The same way he wouldn't let the magazine have its opening at the Brooklyn Navy Yard. One of the dumbest things to do ever. It got more attention by him denying them the opportunity to have it than if he had let them have it.
So you don't give him high marks for any of this stuff? Anyway.
I encourage him to do it. I mean, I've never seen the guy smile. So, I mean, if you're supporting Hillary Clinton, I don't want him to change.
What's your take on Pataki? You think that he's going to be nominated for vice president?
Come on, this is a comedy show.
Oh, you don't think so, huh?
No, but I tell you one thing. In my business, you always like to get endorsements. But if you got to get an endorsement like the one that he gave to Giuliani, Giuliani's a million miles away.
Yeah, this guy, Rick Lazio, don't you?
Sure, he's a wonderful guy. Charming guy.
They had him charged up, ready to go, and then they pulled back on him. Huh?
I don't know whether they've pulled back altogether. You got to read between the lines a lot of this. You know that the National Republicans put a lot of pressure on Pataki and D'Amato, and they really were the ones that were supporting Lazio. And now they said something, if you listen carefully, that Giuliani better make up his mind soon. And Giuliani says, you don't tell me what to do. And by just threatening me, I won't make up my mind soon.
He's up to it. And
so Lazio has said that if he doesn't, then he's going back to Pataki and ask Pataki to reconsider. And I tell you this, Giuliani just didn't endorse Mario Cuomo. He really trashed Pataki and D'Amato. And you can say what you want about we politicians. We may forgive, but we seldom forget.
Famous last words of Menachem Begin, who told me, I can forgive, but I can't forget. Charlie, give me your historical perspective of what Kenneth Starr achieved. This
well,
is
he proved to
the comedy show.
To the Congress and to the country that we don't need any special prosecutors. And when you give that type of power to anyone, you do it at the expense of the constitutions and people's civil rights. Starr represented the epitome of what we did not intend when we created that office. And he could not control himself. He had a drive against the Clintons. And the whole manner in which he supported illegal behavior and wiretaps and using the Monica Lewinsky thing to bring down a president. President should be chastised. He should be embarrassed. Perhaps some people believe he should be censured, but not. You don't change 2 elections because of that.
How serious was this conduct of Starr? I mean, you look back at it now, and it's really dangerous what he was trying to do, to bring a private incident of a president and topple the government, and on top of that, subpoenaing everybody who talked to the president. I have a friend who works for the president called Chris Ainsko, the presidential aide. And I would talk to him, and we barely could talk because he said, we may be subpoenaed. I mean, you couldn't talk. The president couldn't talk to anybody who wasn't covered by attorney-client privilege. That's not healthy for a country.
And with Lewinsky, they brought in her mother, her brother, with FBI agents secluded in a room. It was the old Gestapo days.
Did the press learn anything? Because in my opinion, what Clinton really did is he beat back the press as well as Starr. Because the press was hungry. It was action. It was ready to topple. Everybody was going on talk shows. Everybody was moving. Everybody was shaking. People were writing books. But you got to go back and look at it historically. Starr is now quitting. I think he's leaving. He's probably going to, who knows, maybe he's going to Pepperdine to continue his great law career. But but you got to look at really what happened. He nearly toppled his government, and that's very dangerous. That is really dangerous.
But once again, the American people showed their strength over correspondence, over television, and over a handful of demagogues. They consistently said, I don't like what the president's done, but I don't like what you're doing either. And public opinion was just powerful and persuasive.
It did, and he's able to generate it. Another president may not have had that ability. Look at your friend, the congressman from upstate, the good guy, he's House Foreign Relations, Gilman. He said he voted, then the next day he turned around. I mean, you couldn't stop him fast enough from endorsing Clinton. I mean, he'd have gone for a fundraiser for him. But I had heard that people came into him and said, if you don't do that, you're going to lose your chairmanship.
They've always threatened Ben Gilman. I had no idea. Ben's my friend. But I went to him the other day and I told him, I said, Ben, they tell me that you're the only Jewish guy in the Republican side. He says, 1 Jew and 1 black. That's awesome. Yeah. It's amazing.
It is.
But they've always threatened. They threatened his ranking before they had the majority, saying that he was too liberal.
Is that right?
And Ben sometimes go out of his way to show that he can be as mean as the rest of them. And I jokingly said, what a wonderful place this was when Ben Gilman was alive, but...
Give me a little history on these congressmen now. One of this guy, Graham, what was his name from the South Carolina? Lindsey. Yeah. Are these guys going to be reelected, or is there going to be some kind of...
There's a guy named Rogan from California, and he's in jeopardy. But for most of these guys that went over there, they come from safe seats. And there had been a lot of talk about the voters remembering and that they'll get their revenge. But for the most part, these people who courageously attacked the president when even the Senate didn't want them over there, but they insisted.
Yeah, what happened to the chairman? Where is he? The chairman of that committee.
Oh, Hyde?
Yeah, Henry Hyde.
Well, he's trying to forget his childhood episodes that he had when he was in his 40s. But I'm telling you this, a lot of books to be written over there, but we are just 5 seats away And we really think that while an impeachment thing is
5 seats away from winning the Congress.
From the majority, getting the majority back. And we do have a lot of Republicans not running for re-election, some because they've taken the term limitation oath, others because they're just fed up. Because you got to walk that line in the Republican Party. The Democrats, we have diversity, we have arguments, we have disagreements, and we stick together on those main principles that bring us together. Social Security, Medicare, education, patient bill of rights. But with them, they're torn apart, just like they are in the gun bill, and it's hard for their leadership to keep them together. And so the result is that they don't bring out anything. And the tax bill was supposed to have been that thing to bring them together, and that didn't succeed.
And you know, when they are liberal, we bring on guys like Roy Goodman, who's really a good guy. He's a Republican, and he speaks for people. But generally, it's tough to get them into these social issues. They really want to talk about Steve Forbes' 10% tax cuts all the time. It's a real difference between the Democrats and the Republicans.
There is no question about that, especially the way the tax bill is geared on the Republican side, where we target it to working families, to middle class. They concentrate on the loopholes and on the lobbyists and the ones they want. And instead of the 10% across the board, which was 90% of the tax cut would have gone to 10% of the people, they reduced all of the high-income people a percentage. And so people like you, of course, would receive a windfall, but people in the middle income, they don't even get a slice of bologna out of the thing. It's not there for
We're out of it. I'm going for my tax cut. He said it was a comedy show. Don't take him seriously. But Charlie's a great man, and he probably will be, if there's a Democratic victory, no doubt about it, chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, which, if you don't know a lot about, is the most powerful committee in the United States because it writes all the bills for finance and tax cuts, etc.
Trade.
And trade.
From your lips to God's ears.
From my lips to Cardinal O'Connor's ears and to God. We'll see in a minute. We have an author on whose father joined the SS Waffen, a Jewish man, in order to save himself. I'll tell you a fascinating story. We'll be right back. The book is on burning ground, and Elie Wiesel says this is a story that must be told, and most people believe what Elie Wiesel talks about. Michael Skakun is the author, and he talks about his father. It's an unbelievable story. I read an excerpt of it, and it's not typical, but it's tragic in a way, because what the Holocaust did to the Jews is, I don't think you can put it into history yet. It's just, it's too much, you know?
It beggars the imagination in many ways, and this story is, on some cases, typical, but in its largest focus, it's really an atypical story because it takes my father from the yeshiva of Poland and one of the most elite rabbinical academies to finally the Waffen-SS, which was the most feared echelon of Hitler's army. Of course, it didn't happen overnight. It took 2 to 3 years of very clever and close premeditation on my father's part. But thankfully, he was able to enter the iron web and get out alive.
But Michael, if a man is a Jew and he's born a Jew, he has a bris.
Well, that's true. And the story, that's why the story...
Circumcision, by the way. Yeah, so go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, it's true my father was circumcised, as all the Polish Jews were at the time, as all Jews are throughout history. And that's why he required a multiple false identity. He had to have multiple false identities, not just one. He first began to pose as a Polish Catholic because that was a natural thing to do. Most of Poland is comprised of Catholics and so on. But he knew that if he was to escape Poland and Lithuania and come to Germany and hide under the nose of his persecutors, he would have to get a medical exam, and inevitably his identity would be blown. So he decided that in addition to being a Polish Catholic, he would become a Polish Tatar. Tatars are Muslims. They are...
But they're circumcised.
And they're circumcised. There are not many Tatars in Poland. You can count them in the few thousands. And they came hundreds of years ago to Poland all the way from the east, all the way from China. And they married into the Polish nobility, but they retained their ancestral faith. And with that, the circumcision rite.
So your father went from a yeshiva rabbinical student to the Luffen Waffen rather, SS. How was he able to get into the SS?
Well, with great difficulty, you can be sure. What happened was he didn't want to get into the SS naturally, but what compelled him to do so was he was posing as a non-Jew in Germany, and he was working with a lot of Polish, Ukrainian, Lithuanian laborers on a Nazi farm. He was very terrified of them because they could spot a Jew almost instinctively. Mm-hmm. After 2 years on this Nazi farm, he suddenly overheard one Ukrainian laborer telling another Russian laborer, you know, this Stefan, my father's false name, is very peculiar. He claims to be a Pole, he claims to be a Lithuanian, he claims to be all sorts of identities, including a Catholic, including a Muslim. Only the devil knows who he really is. And when my father overheard that, he got so terrified that he figured, well, where am I going to go now? I'm in Germany. I cannot go back to Poland. The only way out was to enter the SS, which was the belly of the beast, thinking that if he could get into that part of the German army, no one would ever doubt his Jewishness. But it was very, very treacherous, because not only did he have to pass a medical exam, he also had to pass a racial suitability exam, which meant that they would probe his genealogical background. And my father's story was fairly flimsy. I mean, he had gotten a false ID.
He had a Muslim ID at that time?
He had the birth certificate of a man named Stefan Osmanov, who was a Polish Tatar. And he knew that Stefan's father was named Islam, who had come from the Crimea, and the Crimean Tatars were pro-Nazi. So that helped him. But my father suspected that if the Germans were going to ask him many, many questions about his so-called parental background, this whole story would fall apart. And so that was the most treacherous part of all. And on top of the medical exam, the racial suitability exam was extremely dangerous.
How long did he serve in the Waffen?
Luckily, my father was in the SS. I mean, it's not luckily he was only drafted into the SS, but not actually mobilized. The war came to an end. He was liberated by the Soviet troops. Now, we would often sit at the Sabbath table where my father would discuss this story in great detail and often wonder, what if the war had gone...
He killed Jews. He could have been out there.
Well, in fact, had he been mobilized, he would have been sent to the front. He would have had to kill Soviet soldiers. He would have had to kill American soldiers. And possibly if he were transferred to a concentration camp, which is often the case, many of the SS would move from unit to unit, he would have had to kill Jews. So we would often go through the grim possibilities. We would sort of inventory all these possibilities at the Sabbath table. We didn't hear the Zmirot, the Jewish festive songs. We listened to this story, and it became a text that I studied very well, almost like the Bible. It was, in a sense, the Bible of my youth.
So he never wore a Nazi uniform?
He never actually wore a Nazi uniform, but he came into the center of infamy, namely the SS, but didn't taint his hands, didn't kill anyone, didn't even wear a uniform. So in a sense, he was both inside and outside, and that gave him a sort of extraordinary perspective.
And what happened when the war ended?
Well, when the war ended, he was, as I say, liberated by the Russians. He was nearly killed because most of the Russian troops considered laborers in Nazi Germany to be collaborators. So he miraculously survived that. He then joined the Allied forces, served with them, and helped to destroy the Nazi...
He served in the army?
In the army, but as a translator and so on. But he felt that he owed it to his martyred mother, who had been mass murdered together with 5,000 other Jews in a matter of several hours on December 7th, 1941, the very day that Pearl Harbor itself was bombed. So he came back to Judaism after several years of wandering in the desert, as it were, and he came to Paris, and in Paris they had restored the yeshiva, at least the remnants of the yeshiva that he had attended in Poland. And he began again to study the Talmud, to study the Musar tractates, which were the moral
behavior.
Yes, moral behavior and how to behave properly. And he re-embraced his faith after a great many doubts, and he returned to the fold of his people.
Really? What did he do in the United States?
In the United States, he worked as a printer for many years, and interestingly, he returned to the synagogue that had been his personal synagogue in Poland. So the wheel, in a sense, came full circle. He returned to the Musar movement, to the movement that emphasizes the ethical piety and proper behavior.
He became an Orthodox Jew again?
Yes, and he is an Orthodox Jew today. He's observant, and he believes in God despite all the trials that he had to face. It's
unreal, this story. What a story. It's a prototype of what happened during there's stories like this all the time. It's wonderful to see a person so resourceful. On the other hand, it's a tragedy to have to go through it.
Absolutely. I think part of his resourcefulness lay in his Talmudical background. Talmud is a kind of disciplined thought that Jews have been pursuing for thousands of years, and the dialectic that he studied in the rabbinic schools enabled him to think on his feet and to see things from every point of view, so he could see himself as a Catholic, as a Muslim, and ultimately as an SS man.
So he had a good head.
It helped.
Europa film, where a Jewish boy was part of the Hitler Youth Gang, or youth something.
Mm-hmm, the Hitler Jugend.
You know something about that?
Yes, that too is a remarkable story, but I think this story is psychologically far more complex. And the reason I say that is because the arc of my father's experience was far greater than that of Europa. My father started as a rabbinical student at an elite Talmudical academy, so he had to really remake himself in an extraordinary way. But more importantly than that, my father's act was one of premeditation. In Europa, things happen to him. He's caught along the road. He's pulled into the Hitler Jugend. So as a character, one does not really see any development. Things happen to him from the external point of view.
We've got about 30 seconds. Do you know of any other cases where Jews became part of the SS or the Waffen?
I don't know of any, but certainly I don't think any Polish rabbinical students, like my father, ended up, perhaps half Jews. There may have been people who were Mishlings, who were part Jewish, and who were of German ancestry and knew German very well. But for someone who didn't speak German, didn't even speak Polish well, for a yeshiva student from Kletsk, which was one of the best Talmudical academies, to end up in the SS, I think that's probably unique and one of a kind.
Does he still have nightmares about this?
I think he certainly does. I think he lives under the long shadow of guilt. The moral questions are still ever present in his mind.
It never ends, does it?
Never.
The book is On Burning Ground, the son's memoirs. Michael Skakun wrote it about his father and how a man came from a Talmudic or a rabbinical academy to become a part of the Waffen-SS in Hitler's army. It's an unbelievable story. And St. Martin's Press gets a kudu for printing it. Michael, we're out of time. Thanks very much for coming on, and good luck with the book.
Thank you very much.
We will see you next week. We have Peter Malkin, who wants to come on the show. You remember him? He's the man who captured Mr. Eichmann. And he claims factually that the facts don't make sense about the Eichmann diaries. So stay tuned. We'll give you the full story. We'll see you next week.